How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing good, man, because I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Doing great. Been busy lately. I don't know what I've been doing, but I just been busy with a lot of things. Just came back from work and turned on my phone, and I keep on seeing a lot of information about what been going on with Charlie Kirk. And I'm just sitting here wondering, like, wow, this man really had a lot of impact in so many people's life. And on top of that, he also had a lot of enemies. And this is why, like, I went on live stream on The Real Simon Says. And if you're new to my channel, please make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. So let's get to it. So lately, it's nothing new that been going on, but we all know that Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and everybody saw on social media. And it's an unfortunate situation that happened where, you know, people just witnessed the murder, a cold-blooded murder of a young father, because he was a father. He had a wife and he had children, two children, and he got assassinated in a college campus. And his shooter, Tyler Robinson, I guess he got captured by the FBI. And there's a lot of surveillance video that was circulating about how he was running on top of a roof, jumped off the roof, and then he went inside a car, and then he drove off. And then allegedly his parents saw his mugshot or saw the image that the FBI posted online, and they recommended him to basically turn himself in. So far, this Charlie Kirk situation, it has caused a lot of people to lose their job, especially people that work in corporate America, because recently a very famous TV host by the name of Jimmy Kimmel got fired because of a joke that he made on ABC Night Show, Jimmy Kimmel Live. And I guess a lot of people were not happy about that, especially people that supported Charlie Kirk. And I'm pretty sure Charlie Kirk had a lot of powerful people that he knew or his family member knew that made a call to ABC to tell Jimmy Kimmel, listen, you got to be fired, basically. You got to get fired from what you just did. And I'm pretty sure powerful people that Charlie Kirk was associating with, whether it's the vice president, whether it's Donald Trump Jr., pretty sure they basically contacted ABC, the organization that hosts Jimmy Kimmel Live, and told them, you got to you got to get this guy fired. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And now he's fired. And there's countless other people on social media who got fired because of what they posted online. I just seen recently a college professor who got fired because of what he posted online. And there's countless video of people on social media that are crying because they thought they were expressing their freedom of speech, to express how they feel towards the man. And it's obvious that this man had a lot of enemies and a lot of people didn't like him. And the fact that, they're using this time to basically smear his name with a lot of mockery, with a lot of, things that they're bringing up in the past that he did. guess he's a human being and he's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But people are bringing it up, and now, they're basically putting in the forefront, and they're using it against him, and he's not here to defend himself. And some people are basically jumping on it, and some people are not even looking at the full context, because we live in a time where someone will take a clip, will take a video of you, and not put out the whole context of the video so you can get a better understanding of the video, but they'll just show a small clip and post it and basically let people know this is what you meant and this is what you was thinking at that moment. So the man is dead, and the man is not here to defend himself, and a lot of people are using the opportunity to basically smear his name. I'm pretty sure his family, they're sad. I'm pretty sure his family are devastated, and I guess his children will basically see this video for the rest of their life, because the shooting that happened, it is live, it's on every social media platform, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people saved it, and it's kind of hard for them to take that off. But the fact that a lot of people are cheering for a man that got murdered on social media or just on live, I think we live in a very sick society, in my opinion, because a lot of people are sick. A lot of people are sick to cheer on the murder of another person, especially um, considering what he stands for. I'm not here to defend the man. I'm not here to even justify everything that he have said. But one thing that I will basically try to defend him on is the fact that he has the right to speak his mind. And a lot of people probably can't fathom that at this point, because they feel like, their mind or their agenda or whatever that they have thinking and about themselves, they can basically do it. So it's kind of sad that we see a situation like that. So far, the investigation, especially for the Charlie Kirk investigation, it's really, there's a lot of uncertainty, especially when it comes to this investigation. When you take a look at what the FBI are saying, when you look at the evidence that they have provided, there's a lot of question that's being asked. Is this kid, Tyler Robinson, is he really the shooter? Or was he involved with other people? Or was he the only person that did this? And who could potentially, want Charlie Kirk to be dead or be shot in public like that? There's a lot of question that's being asked, and more evidence is coming out that the shooter, I guess he's allegedly a Republican, and his parents were, I think his father served in the military, or he was in the law enforcement, and he'd been following Charlie Kirk for a while. Basically, he knew where he would be, and he planned his assassination attempt. So so far, it has been very, very interesting to see things like this happen. And So I titled this live stream, Candace Owens is exposing the truth about Charlie Kirk's death. Before I really get into it, I would just like to make something very clear. First of all, I'm not really into politics, but I do follow politics. So that means I'm mostly a nonpartisan participant when it comes to politics. Meaning, for a lot of people out there who's probably wondering, like, what is nonpartisan? It means I don't affiliate myself with no political party, whether it's on the right or on the left. I'm mostly in the middle, especially when it comes to their agenda, especially when it comes to their policy, and especially when it comes to the way that they operate when it comes to things such as the economy, foreign affair, um, finance, and many other things that, especially when it comes to also like family structure, value, and things like that. So I'm a nonpartisan person, especially when it comes to politics. But I'm digging deep into politics just because this topic has been in the forefront, especially on my news feed for the past week. And a lot of people saw it, and a lot of people have their own opinion about it. There's a lot of expert on news platforms such as Fox News, CNN, and even independent news outlet are basically talking about Charlie Kirk and how, kind of impact he had, because the man was a very influential person, especially in the conservative. He was a very influential person when it comes to mobilizing the youth, especially in colleges, because he was going into college campuses, talking with youth about things that relate to America when it comes to like politics, geopolitics, social justice, when it comes to the border, American security. And you can go on social media online, just type down his name or his organization that he was running, or company that he was running, called Turning Point USA, where he's debating college student. And what I got from it, watching some of his video, is he really wants, especially people that he's debating, to be held accountable, to have some kind of strong principle about, the things that they believe in, or the things that, or the agenda that they're trying to push. So he had a lot of good points, especially when it comes to debating topics such as the economy, such as family structure, such as relationship when it comes to men and a woman. There's certain things that I did not agree with him, especially when it comes to talking about the Israel situation with Gaza. He was a supporter of them, which, with the naked eye, when you look at what's happening in the Middle East, especially in Gaza, as a human being, it's kind of hard for you to kind of accept what's happening without even criticizing who's doing it. And I don't really want to get into that because, we don't want to get flagged for saying certain things about certain country, because a lot of people are being flagged from saying things about country like Israel and things like that. So with that being said, I think Charlie Kirk, he was a good debater at some level. He was a good debater. And he had a lot of influence, especially in the youth. And he was basically, challenging a lot of youth, especially from the liberal side and even the conservative side, and even just the nonpartisan, um, about their point of view when it comes to the U.S. policy. He was a Trump supporter, and he played a pivotal role, a very pivotal role, on helping President Donald Trump get reelected. Because if I'm not mistaken, during the election, um, President Donald Trump had a hard time trying to influence the younger generation. And I think he leaned more on Charlie Kirk platform, Turning Point USA, to basically influence a lot of youth. And now he's shot by a young white man, and a lot of people, especially on the conservative side, they were really hurt. Considering that he wasn't really a politician, he was more of a political analyst. Um, his burial, I watched it. It was very inspiring. It was very touching. He was definitely buried with honor, which I think he deserves it. And But at the same time, like a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, there was, if I'm not mistaken, it was a U.S. congressman or congresswoman that was killed in his house by an intruder. And I guess he was a sitting congressman in the U.S. Congress. He was killed, and he did not get an honorable burial like how Charlie Kirk got one. So a lot of people on the left, especially on the left, are bringing that up, or saying like, how come these individuals that got murdered in their house by an intruder did not get the same type of burial, and considering that they were a politician. And this man, Charlie Kirk, who wasn't a politician, but he was a political analyst, entrepreneur, and many other things, he got this burial. Well, the simple answer is he had connection. And he had connection with a lot of powerful people, from some very powerful people. He was rubbing elbows with people, that are powerful in the political world, that are powerful in the economic world. And he was even rubbing elbows with a lot of powerful foreign politicians. And I think that's key to basically how, he was functioning, because his platform was becoming very powerful, was becoming very big. And for all these powerful individuals, powerful politicians, powerful, oligarch, he plays a pivotal role to basically infiltrating the youth mind. And that's why I think he had a lot of donors. He had a lot of people, especially that was helping him out. And some of them did not probably agree with him when it comes to certain topic. And I'm pretty sure there was a lot of pushback when it comes to those type of topics, especially with what was going on in Gaza. And I guess he had to get taken out. I don't know if that's true or not, but when you look at a lot of things, when you look at all the things that's being said on certain platforms, certain people around him, certain people that knew him, people such as Candace Owens, who was basically a friend of Charlie Kirk, kind of makes you want to dig a little deeper, or just trying to find out really what's really going on in this situation with Charlie Kirk. And this is why I wanted to make this live stream, to basically take a look at what's really going on, and see what Candace Owens had to say, especially about this situation with the death of Charlie Kirk. But yeah, so I'm about to get to the video. So here's a video of Candace Owens, who basically made this video, which is going viral until now, basically questioning a lot of things that went on in the death of Charlie Kirk, because she was Charlie Kirk's friend. And for the people that don't know who she is, well, she's also like a political analyst, just like Charlie Kirk. And if I'm not mistaken, they met around 2017, 2018, and they worked. Uh, and if I'm not mistaken, she worked with Charlie Kirk in his organization, which is called Turning Point USA. And then she left that organization, and then she went to go join the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro. And then she left Daily Wire, and I think she's just basically operating by herself, talking about things that's happening in society. She's being a political analyst, and she mostly leaned on the right. She's mostly a conservative, right-leaning political analyst when it comes to her point of view and many other things. I remember seeing a video about her in a show called Jubilee. Jubilee is a show where they get an individual that doesn't align with certain group of people. For example, they will get like a conservative trying to debate around like 20 other people, and they will basically have that one conservative individual consistently debate all these youth or college student about certain topic or certain statement or claim that he makes about that other group. And she was also in Jubilee debating a lot of starch feminism. I'm not really a fan of her, but I do respect what she does. I respect her work. I think she's very intelligent in a lot of topic, especially when it comes to talking about the feminist movement, especially when it comes to talking about the social fabric of family here in the United States. Her stance when it comes to situation that's happening in Gaza, she really, really goes hard on Israel and with the genocide that's happening in Gaza. Also, on top of that, she just recently was talking about the president of France wife, and she claimed that the president of France wife is a man, and she got proof. I think that's an extreme claim in my opinion. But one thing that I know about the president of France and his wife is she's older than him, and until now they probably haven't had no kids. And she does have some kind of weird feature that looks like a dude, but that's not for me to judge. But the fact that she was just a starch, she had this starch conviction that this lady is a dude and the president of France is basically a dude. It got to the point where the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, he filed a lawsuit against her. And just made me kind of wonder. I'm like, wow, she's really courageous. I got to give her credit because she's challenging a lot of people, a lot of powerful people. And the fact that she's saying all these words and things about a sitting president of a country like France, when you read the history of France and, all the positive and the negative and the dark side of France and things like that, if the French president really, really, really was pissed off, he has a lot of means to be able to silence her in many ways possible. But she got a lot of courage. I got to give her that. She had more courage than a lot of people and a lot of men. So, I salute her in that. And then, but yeah, let's take a look at this video real quick. See what she got to say, especially about her friend, Charlie Kirk.
This with no introduction. There's a lot that I would like to speak with you guys about. Can't wait to hear your feedback. A lot of lies that are being put out there, narratives that I would say are half truths or just misrepresentations entirely. And I don't really see the reason for that. First and foremost, to let you know, last week was not a dream. Charlie Kirk, my friend, is dead. And he was publicly executed. I want to make that clear. Charlie Kirk was publicly executed before the world. And as we are all searching for answers, the ones that are being supplied to us are not making a lot of sense. And some people, I would say, are speaking too much, are speaking on behalf of other people. I don't like it. I will say something that I think brought the world a lot of relief, also, sadness. We were grieving with her, was when his wife, Mrs. Erica Kirk, addressed not just the nation, but the entire world. Her words were very powerful. And we just have a very brief portion of her remarks, which you should pursue in their entirety. But here she is.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die.
Beautiful, powerful words.
Yeah, it must be really sad just to see, the widow of Charlie Kirk making those type of statement. Regardless of what you think about Charlie Kirk, he was a father, he was a husband, he was someone's brother, he was someone's uncle, and I guess his life was taken in front of everybody, which is a sad thing to see, because I wonder how the family is feeling right now, consistently seeing videos, because there's a lot of people who were making fun of, his death, especially on social media. You see people are making memes about it. You see people are, having AI generated image. You see people are protesting for it. You see people who are basically making music about it. And I can only imagine, as a family member, you've seen that. You've seen one of your loved ones who just got gunned down, basically shot in the neck in front of millions and millions of people, and they're making fun of them. I mean, it's kind of sad in my opinion. For me personally, I respect the dead, because a lot of people will say, well, he was talking bad about George Floyd when he was dead. He was calling him a junkie and this and that, or he was a drug addict and things like that. For me personally, I can only speak about myself, because I know some people were not raised, I won't say the right way, but some people were raised differently. For me, I respect the dead, because I also experienced death in my family, and I cannot imagine someone basically smearing or mocking my family member who was dead. It will really make someone really angry to take action or to contemplate certain things that could result to, bad consequence.
Charlie had just one wife. What we got to see across this weekend is that there were so many people around the world, like she said, who were deeply moved by Charlie Kirk throughout their lives, and of course have been deeply moved by this tragedy. And what she is describing there, that fire, a lot of us are feeling it. I am definitely feeling it. I had a very tough weekend, a very tough weekend. I will say this, my entire life, I've not been much of a crier. It is not my choice emotion. I'm not a person who bursts into tears, and some people are like that. This weekend, I didn't just cry. I wept. I wept for Charlie. Obviously, I didn't make it through the tribute to him on Friday. And for those of you who wanted to see me in a moment of weakness, that was delivered to you. Fair. Yeah, I watched my friend get shot in the neck. Yeah, that's what happened. I just want to say that he was publicly executed again before the world. The question is why, right? When you are in a state of grief, you go through a lot of emotions, and I'm arriving right now at a lot of anger the audacity of some people. It has taken much restraint and prayer, and I had to speak with a priest. I had to go to confession. These emotions that I am having, wanting to respond with Charlie in his own words, really. People that are coming forward and saying this is what he thought and this is how he should be remembered. It just feels really inappropriate to me. I didn't know what to do other than to scroll through messages between me and Charlie, regarding which there are a ton of them. And kept going back and watching the many videos of us dancing to the song Power. And it felt appropriate to reach out to Ye, speaking about things, talking about his mode when he wrote the song. When you wrote the song Power, why did we have it as our hype song? Because the song is about the ability to find it within yourself to become what you know you are capable of becoming inside of a matrix, when you just realize everything is dishonest, that everything is performative, that people are dishonest, that they are going to try to stop you from being great. In fact, it's the end of the song, the question that he asks at the end of the song, that's the most important. Ye asks, do you have the power to let power go?
That's a good point. I listened to that song, and I like that song by Kanye West. I still listen to it today. But when you listen to the lyric, like how she say, do you have the power to let power go? A lot of people don't have the power to let power go, because power is sweet, but power also comes with a lot of responsibility. And so many people either run away from, and so many people won't be able to take that type of responsibility. Because with power, it comes great responsibility that so many people are not able to basically handle. But the thing about power is power can also become something very dangerous. Because with absolute power, it can corrupt all. Because we've seen it throughout the world. When you see other countries where, the president has absolute power over the people, absolute power over the nation. Everything that he says, he decides, that's how it's going to go. And those things can become very, very dangerous, because when you have that much power, it can be blinding. It can blind you by a lot of things. So I think it's a very powerful song, especially by Kanye West. And I even like that song. So she has a point.
Do you have the power to say no to power?
Monday CRM is so intuitive, I think it just spurred my mind. Again. Get out of my head, Monday CRM. Did I?
I told you guys that Charlie was going through a spiritual transformation at the end, and all of the usual suspects were really angry that I hinted towards that. What do you mean? You're not allowed to say that. They were attacking me, trying to make me fearful, to speak out and speak about the things that I know. I'm not feeling very fearful right now. I am, like I said, very angry. And I found, Charlie's favorite portion of the song. I'll show you the text between him and I, because this feels very relevant right now. This is, again, lyrics directly from the song Power, but I just needed time alone with my own thoughts, got treasures in my mind, but couldn't open up my own vault. My childlike creativity, purity, and honesty is honestly being crowded by these grown thoughts. Reality is catching up with me. Taking my inner child, I'm fighting for custody with these responsibilities that they entrusted me. That's a moment where he is really speaking about how hard it is. Like when you're saying, no, this is what I believe. And they say, you're not allowed to believe that. You feel like you are fighting for custody of yourself. And I want to be very clear that I believe, in fact, I know that towards the end, Charlie was fighting for custody of himself. I want to say that. I want to say that plainly. And there are lies that are being told, and they need to be slapped down right now. There's one person who's been out there acting like he is a widow, just saying the absolute most, tweeting first about what happened to Charlie, following it minute to minute, and doing hits in a foreign country, right? Like making time to do hits on Fox News, 2 of them. Bibi Netanyahu who's fighting, I think, like an 84 front war with everyone, made a lot of time for Charlie Kirk. You would have thought they were the best of friends, as close as him and Trump were.
I find it very interesting that she say things like that, because it kind of raise a lot of red flag in my opinion when I saw that. How would like a sitting prime minister of a country, just automatically jump into a situation like this and try to put his input when it comes to a political analyst? Because he wasn't really a politician, and he's basically coming in talking about how he was close with him. And because I understand if it was someone like President Donald Trump, because Charlie actually was close with President Donald Trump. But when it comes to a foreign president or foreign official, you can ask a lot of questions, especially when you dig deep into a country like Israel and how they operate with their spy agency, with their spy gadget and things like that. You kind of start asking a lot of questions like, are they really involved? Or like, very interesting, because Netanyahu, yes, he has a lot of things going on, especially in the Middle East right now. He's having, like how Candace Owens say, multiple fronts war. He's having a war in Gaza with Hamas. He's also dealing with the Houthis in Yemen. He's also dealing with the situation in Syria, in Lebanon, in Iran, and just recently he bombed Qatar, which is an American ally. So he has a lot going on, and I know he goes back and forth with the president of Turkey, and so it's a very interesting situation, that with everything that's going on in his country, around him, in that region, he's taking the time to basically comment on an individual like Charlie Kirk, who's just a political analyst. Maybe I'm just speculating. We'll see.
But I will say I don't recall Erica mentioning Bibi Netanyahu in her speech. The way he's presenting it is like he was I mean, this is just the worst loss for him, but I don't think that is the truth. In fact, I know for a fact that he is misrepresenting some things that happened there towards the end. So let's at first listen to what Bibi Netanyahu, just one day, less than 24 hours after Charlie died, what Bibi Netanyahu had to say on Fox News. Take a listen.
We're just heartbroken. Myself, my wife, my family, my son, actually, on his 2019 visit to Israel, had lunch with him and his wife, Erica. We're shattered first as human beings, because a great human being has been taken from us. Was an extraordinary friend. He said, he wrote me a letter on May 2nd this year. He said, one of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances to defend Judeo-Christian civilization. A few weeks before the tragedy yesterday, I called him and I spoke to him and I said, please come to Israel. I invited him to Israel. And sadly, that visit will not take place. But he was a defender of our common Judeo-Christian civilization. He was unbelievably excited to walk in the footsteps of Jesus here. He valued our bond, the bond between America and Israel. He did so many things to defend free speech. He had his truth. He stood up for it. But he said, you can come and debate me. He invited that debate. He certainly didn't invite the violence, the horrible violence that tried to silence him. And, this is a worldwide problem. The people on the extremes, the Islamists, the radical Islamists, and their union with the ultra progressives, they often speak about human rights. They speak about free speech, but they use violence to try to take down their enemies, whether it's President Trump, who's been almost assassinated twice, or, they try to kill me here too. But they got Charlie Kirk, and it's just heartbreaking.
Who is they, BB? Who is they who got Charlie Kirk? we don't have to actually speak conspiracies. I'm just wondering, because you said a lot there, but it really sounded like it was about Bibi trying to establish a narrative that we saw reinforced by a lot of people, that, Charlie kind of made it almost sound like he died for Israel. I mean, Trump's account even tweeted out a photo of Charlie and an American flag and also an Israeli flag, a bit of AI used, like this is just who Charlie was. He says Judeo-Christian values. He spoke to him 2 weeks ago. Again, you would think he was busy fighting this 97,000 front war, but no, he's letting you know that he just randomly picks up the phone and calls Charlie Kirk and invites him to Israel.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 45, a complete AI creation platform.
How would Bibi do that? It seems like maybe there's a little more to the story. No, there definitely is a little bit more to.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit more to this story because, like I said earlier, Bibi has so many things that's going on, especially in the Middle East, especially in his country. And he's taking the time to basically, talk about Charlie Kirk, which is, I think it's, in some level, it is honorable. It is something that's honorable. But I think it is kind of interesting, the fact that, he's taking the time to do it now. And a lot of people are just asking a lot of questions.
The story. First and foremost, that letter he is holding up, he is severely misrepresenting. Those sentences are real, but I am calling upon Bibi Netanyahu, the dear friend to Charlie Kirk, to publish the letter's entire contents. Like, don't start with just 2 sentences. Publish the entire thing. You're holding it. I'm saying you're severely misrepresenting the contents, that in May, Charlie was concerned about Israel and their influence on American politics and how they were pushing things that he felt were in conflict with his beliefs, free speech here in America. Bibi's holding it up like Charlie just in May said, hey, you know what? I just want to write a love letter to Israel. That's how it was presented. Would you guys agree? That's not how it happened. Now, regarding that phone call and that invite, that also needs to be contextualized. And I'm going to do that. But first, Skylar, can we bring in a clip of Charlie from a month ago speaking about the kind of pressure that he was under? Because I think that will also help to further contextualize this. Take a listen.
I'm not surprised that he was under pressure, just because the fact that if you basically know anything about the Mossad, that's Israel form of CIA. They're known to doing a lot of crazy things, especially when you listen to other CIA operator or CIA agent who actually collaborated with Mossad. They are known to doing a lot of crazy things that we've seen on TV, we've seen on videos, because they have a lot of skill sets, especially when it comes to spy, assassination, intelligence gathering, and so many other things. So I'm not surprised that he was under a lot of pressure. And the fact that he's under a lot of pressure just tells you that, there was more to this than just President or Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, just calling him and stopping everything that he got going on in Gaza, in Yemen, and with Syria, with Iraq, with the Middle East and all this. And I mean, I think if I was Bibi, I think the best thing he could have done was probably to just send out a message on Twitter or on X or on social media. I think that would have been probably more reasonable. But the fact that he's going on all this platforms such as Fox News to talk about him, I don't know, there's a lot of questions that should be asked and answered.
American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
It's been
almost
so
as if
unfair. They were coming after you after a turning point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go. I mean, you saw it, Megan. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white. And you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megan. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? Like, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb, right?
No, it's not defensible to be dumb. And he was under an increasing amount of pressure, not just people telling him, oh, well, you know, I'm upset with who you're inviting, but flat out telling him that he was not allowed to invite certain people to his events. They were threatening to pull out money. Charlie was getting a lot of really nasty text messages, and many of them pertaining to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. But Tucker Carlson was really the focus when it came to America Fest. How could Charlie allow these debates about Israel to take place? How could he allow Dave Smith, who, by the way, is Jewish, how could how could Charlie allow this other position to meet the stage? Because obviously when people start to hear the debates, what Dave Smith is saying sounds so rational, but it was up to Charlie to not allow those things to happen. And that amount of pressure towards the end, as you see that conversation he had with Meghan was just a month before he lost his life, really, I would say, reached a pinnacle of sorts on the matter of what Tucker Carlson actually said on that stage. Tucker Carlson, while he was on that stage at Turning Point, brought up Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a billionaire. Obviously, he is also an extremely litigious billionaire. And Bill Ackman was on Charlie about comments that Tucker Carlson had made on that stage. Tucker Carlson specifically asked the question, where does Bill Ackman's money come from? You know, who is this guy? Actually, who is this guy that has this much influence? And like I said, Bill Ackman was not happy about this. And so I would like to contextualize Bibi. Again, these are things Bibi brought up publicly, which he didn't have to. He didn't have to bring up the letter. He didn't have to bring up the phone call, but he chose to do this less than 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was shot. Personally, Bibi, I would have appreciated if you guys used all of your spyware, you'd spying on us for years, to maybe track down the killer. But I guess this is where you thought it was best to do a little propaganda for Israel would be better than us helping us track down the killer. But anyway, so Bibi Netanyahu and that phone call, what took place was a couple of weeks ago before Charlie lost his life.
You know, for the people that don't know, Candace Owens, she has been like, for the past, I think, ever since the war in Gaza started, Candace Owens has taken a really starch stance when it comes to what Israel has been doing in Gaza, which is kind of justifiable because what we're seeing in Gaza, it's basically uncalled for. It's something that we should not be seeing in 2025, but unfortunately, that's what we're seeing. But she really has been, you know, talking about the state of Israel. She's been basically talking about the negative side about it. They're talking about the Jewish history. And a lot of people on the other side, especially a lot of powerful people who actually defend or, you know, talk about Israel, did not like it, especially someone like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is known as a Jewish man in America who defend and justify what Israel is doing in Gaza. And a lot of people are basically, you know, wondering like, why? And it got to the point where Both of them were arguing on social media about the situation, and she ended up getting fired because she was hired by the Daily Wire, which is, I think, a company that is run by Ben Shapiro or one of Ben Shapiro's people. So it got to the point where she got fired. There's multiple reasons why, and there's other reasons why they're not telling us. But for the people that was following this situation among them too, it was mostly about her criticizing what's happening in Gaza. So I'm not really surprised. And on top of that, Bill Ackman, I guess he's a billionaire, and these billionaires, not all of them, some of them, they have a different way of operating when it comes to certain things. And especially for the one who are, huge defender of what Israel is doing, because they have some level of interest in Israel. Either they're providing them finance, they're providing them support, so I'm not surprised that he was also involved, because most billionaires, they tend to have a lot of agenda that's hidden, and they try to use politic and politician to be able to push their agenda. Prime example is a guy like Bill Gates, with all the GMOs and him trying to basically feed people worms and all these genetically modified meats. He's a billionaire. He has all the money in the world. He can basically go anywhere in the world and just, enjoy his money. But it seems like things are not enough for him. He just needs to gain control and basically control the population. And I think that's something that a lot of billionaires we're seeing, does. And another billionaire that I can think of is, for example, Elon Musk. Some people might agree and some people might not even agree with me. But the fact that he's trying to put chips inside people's body, I'm completely against that, because I don't think your body should be used for things like that. And but that's the future, and that seemed like the path that most of them are trying to take. And they're using politicians, they're using a lot of political analysts to push their agenda. So this is not something, new when it comes to billionaire using their money to influence political analysts such as Charlie Kirk, and in some level, even people like Candace Owens. I'm not saying it's the case for her, but I know that billionaire, they'll use their money to push their agenda through politician and even through political analysts, especially the one that have a lot of following behind them.
Charlie was in the Hamptons, and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman, because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote-unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset, and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you. And he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called, and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure. And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat. I got to tell you that. It felt like a threat, like not like, hey, come here and we can educate you because you're my friend. More like, this is your last chance. That's how it felt to me. I can't speak to how it felt to Charlie. And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Bibi would fund it, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as like, re-education camp. We've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. We just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah. We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel.
It's a good thing that she didn't take that trip, because knowing how Mossad operate, especially with a lot of assassination that's happening in the Middle East by Mossad, maybe she would have came back alive, but she definitely would have got, either threatened, like she said, a re-education programming, which is a common thing, especially with intelligence agency such as Mossad, CIA, or even at some level FBI, things like that. So I think it's a smart thing. But the fact that, Charlie Kirk got offered a lot of money, it shows that he was really under a lot of pressure. And a lot of these billionaires, like I said earlier, they have a certain agenda because they have all the money in the world. They have a certain agenda that they want to push. And for them, they'd rather use politician or even political analysts to push their agenda. And they're most likely going to use money behind it. So most of these politicians that we see, even like in Capitol Hill, they're basically doing things based on an agenda by some kind of billionaires. Because when you look at things that's happening in Capitol Hill, especially in the United States, a lot of people was asking a lot about Elon Musk. You got Elon Musk, you got the Facebook guy, Zuckerberg, and the Amazon dude, I forgot his name. Jeez, what's his name? Jeff Bezos. A bunch of billionaires in the White House with the president, who's also a billionaire, and they definitely are pushing an agenda that we don't know nothing about. Of course, they're going to try to portray their presence in the White House as, they're providing jobs and things like that. But when you look at most of their company is laying off a lot of people. They're laying off a lot of people, and they are changing their system by implementing artificial intelligence, which is causing a lot of people, an average American, to lose their job, because you just can't go online and top down how is AI taking people's job. You see a lot of people complaining, a lot of people are crying, a lot of people are nervous about the future because they don't know what tomorrow's hold, because most of these billionaires, all they want is either to push their agenda and just to get a bigger profit. And we can see that throughout here in the United States.
And we can make this better. Charlie said no to Bibi. Okay. Bill Ackman, if you would like to dispute that, I would love to hear what you say happened, because our sources and what we have, it's solid. Okay. There were conversations that took place, messages that were sent at that time, and they are solid. So I decided, another person that was there, and I am not surprised this person was there if you've been listening to my show, Seth Dillon. I was going to go to Seth Dillon, and I decided to message him last night about this Hamptons meeting. And Seth Dillon, who is normally very quick with a response, has not yet been able to respond. I'll show you this text message chain. And I want to be clear, I am not someone who normally publicizes text messages. But my friend was shot in the neck. And I'm just not really in the state right now to be polite when it comes to the answers that I am demanding, okay? This is me out to Seth Dillon last night. I sent him Bill Ackman's tweets because, he tweeted, "I feel incredibly privileged to have spent a day and shared a meal with Charlie Kirk this summer. He was a giant of a man." I said, "Any comment on this one, Seth?" He didn't answer last night. This morning I said, need a comment ASAP, please. He didn't answer. Then I followed that up and I said, trying again here, you were present when Ackman lost his mind on Charlie and when Bibi invited him to Israel and Charlie refused. Text messages immediately following this meeting are circulating. I find Ackman's statement, as though the meeting was somehow cordial, to be incredibly disturbing. Are you at all disturbed by that tweet? Do you feel, as I do, that this tweet significantly betrays the defined purpose and mood of his, and I presume your, final meeting with Charlie Kirk? ? He was unable to speak to me, but he did place some frantic calls to Turning Point USA. Yeah. You see, I went out to Seth, but I also went out to 2 other people who were at this meeting, and nobody is willing to go on record. They're all messaging each other, trying to figure out a coordinated response to say that, no, this was all quite cordial, but no one wants to go on record and describe it as cordial because they know someone's leaking, because someone's got a guilty conscience about what happened at the Hamptons. So I will again put it out there, Seth, Bill Ackman, and to the other individuals who I have not yet named, but who are going to be named later this week. We're at the Hamptons when Charlie was put under pressure, when Bibi Netanyahu called him and invited him to Israel, again, in a move that when it happened to me, and it wasn't Bibi Netanyahu, felt to me like a laced threat. I am inviting you guys, I will give you my platform, actually, to come clear matters up, to tell us what really happened. Because, I think Charlie...
I got to give credit to her, because she has a lot of courage to be able to, speak her mind. She definitely standing on business, especially about this situation. And I do not blame her, because Charlie Kirk was her friend. There's a lot of videos of, that she shared on social media with her and Charlie Kirk. They were dancing, they were in the car, they were eating and talking, laughing. So I can only imagine how she feel about this situation, and knowing that her friend was publicly assassinated, murdered, where millions and millions of people saw it all over the world. I'm pretty sure she's frustrated about it, because there's a lot of inconsistency when it comes to this situation about Charlie Kirk, especially when it comes to the investigation, and especially when it comes to the people that he was involved with, especially for his organization, Turning Point USA. And I think as a friend, she feel like it's her responsibility to, bring this up to light, to basically call out the people that she alleged are involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk. And now the question is that guy Tyler Robinson, is he really the shooter? Maybe he's the shooter, but the people that sent him, was it just something that he did by himself, or he reacted by himself, or he was operating by himself? I don't know. I think that's the job for the investigator, the FBI, the local police in Utah. We'll have to find out. But I feel her pain. I feel like where she's coming from, especially when you lose a loved one or a friend. You want justice to be served, especially for, anybody that committed a crime towards anybody that you care for.
Was definitely on the brink of changing some of his perspectives. And I can tell you factually, Charlie was praying the rosary. Charlie was going to mass. One of my last conversations with Charlie was me joking with him saying, just make the last step, okay? You are, I said specifically, you're too smart to be a Protestant. Just take the last step, Charlie. And he says, ha ha. He was speaking about Mary. And typically when those steps start taking place, you stop referring to yourself, as I did, as a Judeo-Christian. Again, it is mystifying why, Bibi was out there doing the absolute most to make sure that Charlie was basically remembered as, I would argue, like a Jew, has not been yet mentioned. I didn't hear that. Erica was very clear that Charlie was a Christian, and I believe Charlie obviously was very much a Christian, and that things are not being told truthfully. In fact, I will also call upon, since we're having fun, Turning Point USA to release the audio of what Charlie Kirk, because I was in communication with Charlie at this time, because I knew exactly which donors were pressuring him and why, exactly which people that they were insisting Charlie allowed to speak at his event and why, when Charlie did not necessarily want those people to speak at his event. Okay. I'm calling upon Turning Point to release the footage of what Charlie said to Tucker Carlson before he hit the stage, before, all of that craziness and the response to Tucker Carlson's remarks played out. Charlie was mic'd. Surely Tucker Carlson was mic'd. I know Charlie's mic'd the entire time at those events. So I'm asking for everyone to just release Charlie in his own words. I feel like that's pretty fair, right? Let's stop saying how Charlie felt. And instead, if you're going to hold up the letter, release it in its entirety. Okay? Why don't you release your messages, Bill? I'll release mine. Let's all just be very forthcoming about what took place. In fact, I'm calling upon Tucker Carlson to speak about that. I know what Charlie said to him, and I'm sure Tucker Carlson won't lie about it. What did Charlie say to you? Dave Smith, what did Charlie say to you? What was Charlie? Did he seem like he was treading in the direction? Like, do we feel like what Bibi is saying is honest, a representation of what Charlie was going through?
Well, what Bibi was saying, I think a lot of people can probably question that, because if you follow politics, you'll realize that a lot of politician lies. And Bibi is a career politician. He lied about a lot of stuff. When you look at what Bibi been saying about Iran, is like, what, a week away from creating a nuclear bomb. And this case been going on since, if I'm not mistaken, since 2000s. He's been saying that they're so close. They're only like a week away. They're only like 1 month away. And now we're in 2025. So far, Iran still has not created a nuclear bomb. And some other lies that Bibi have said in the past was about Saddam Hussein having the weapon of mass destruction, basically testifying in U.S. Congress, talking about Saddam Hussein having the weapon of mass destruction, so the U.S. should come inside Iraq to be able to overthrow him. And there's just so many things. So the fact that, Bibi is saying all this thing, you realize that he's a politician. Most of them lies about so many things. But I can see in a scenario where if Charlie Kirk were to turn or start, turning from his rhetoric about what's happening in Gaza, it can influence a lot of youth, especially a lot of conservative youth, which he had a lot of people following him who were like a bunch of teenagers or even like young men that were conservative. So if he were to turn and start to talk against Israel or what's happening in Gaza, it could have been really tragic for a lot of people here that support Israel.
This is what I want. I think that the thing that we need here, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Now, does all of this mean that Bibi Netanyahu and that this somehow proves that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk? No, we have no evidence of that. We can't say that because there is no evidence of that. But I don't like little lies. That's what I will say. Something that I always say in my household is, when there is one lie, there's 20. There's no reason to lie. Bibi could have gone on Fox News and he could have told the truth. He could have said truthfully that Charlie Kirk has always loved Israel. He has always loved Israel as the Holy Land. He's been here many times. And throughout his career, he has been a faithful supporter of Israel. That's not what he said. Okay. He talks about the phone call and didn't give it the proper context. He held up the letter and didn't give it the proper context. And lies by severe omission, I'd like to be very clear, are lies. Lies by severe omission are lies. You're not going to gaslight us and tell us to shut up or call us anti-Semitic for pointing out the fact that Charlie was having a change of heart about the tactics that Israel was using in America, and that he felt when he had left that meeting that he had effectively been blackmailed. Again, my platform is yours, Seth Dillon. My platform is yours, Bill Ackman. So if you want to clarify it, we can do it in front of millions. Okay. And I think that that's what people deserve, because everyone has PTSD. We watched Charlie get shot in the throat. That feels a little bit symbolic. It feels like they wanted us to know that his voice was problematic. Again, I don't know who they is. After we take this brief break, we're going to go through the investigation, which seems to have a lot of inconsistencies and holes in it. And we're definitely not.
Also changes the orbit of the moon. Israel pushes the sun. I mean, the whole thing is, it's not only insane, I think it's so absurd, so stupid, and so ridiculous. You can't believe that people are saying this. They just found the perpetrator. They'll get to the bottom of this. But they go, they have no limits. When you hate Jews, when you hate the Jewish state, you're willing to say anything and promote all these absurd rumors. And by the way, they're willing to kill us all the time. I mean, that's what they're doing. And over the centuries, when Jews, especially in the Middle Ages, the horrific Middle Ages, the worst things were said about Jews you couldn't possibly believe. We were poisoning the wells. We were drinking the blood of Christian children. You name it. I mean, these things, that continued actually up to the Holocaust. The Nazis said the same thing. We're carrying vermin, we're spreading disease. And people believed it. And every time they believed it, this was a prelude to a greater and greater massacre, culminating with the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust.
Well.
I can't trust the word that most politicians be saying, because in one minute, they're going to tell you what they think. In another minute, they're going to try to tell you a lie. In another minute, they're just going to try to deviate you from what you was thinking. So a lot of politicians, especially in any country, they're corrupted. They have a lot of things that, that compromise them, because they have certain things that they did in the past that certain people have leverage over them. So they're not really like independent. And most of them are not even a representation of the people that voted for them. And that's the same thing that goes for BB, because if you're following what's been going on in Middle East, it seems like for BB, he has an incentive for the war to continue, because he's also facing some criminal charges. That if the war stopped, people now going to start looking at all his corruption charges, all his embezzlement charges, and many other charges that he has in Israel, because in some level, before this situation in Gaza happened, Israel was about to even go into a civil war, because there was a lot of protest and people did not like the government of Bibi Netanyahu. So a lot of things that you see in politicians, especially people like Bibi, I don't really buy it, because they're just full of lies, and they have a track record of lying about so many things. But it is what it is.
He's mentioned the Holocaust. Guess we can't prod the narrative any further, guys. Holocaust. So everybody's just stopped talking about anything. Hey, he's the victim. It's absurd. It's just absurd. The Holocaust happened. You heard him. We're sick of this shit. We really are. And there will be no narrative that I will not prod when it comes to figuring out why people are lying about the state that Charlie was in when it came to the topic of Israel. Again, you can examine Charlie in his own words. He was starting to talk about topics that you're not really allowed to talk about when you take money and big checks are being written. That pressure was increasing every single day. In fact, he was telling the truth even about Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen.
Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine, and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, but there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair. looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
This Epstein file would definitely expose a lot of people, especially if it's released. And I see why he got killed in prison, because the way also he got killed, it should be investigated. Allegedly, what I read was when he got murdered in his cell, the camera was not working, the guards was not around, and all of a sudden they found out that he was dead in his prison cell. So it just makes you kind of wonder, like, a lot of powerful people that he was dealing with do not want the information that he knows to come out. And if it's true that he was working for Israel or he was working for Mossad, he definitely has a lot of people under some duress situation, or he has a lot of people who are really compromised. Because if I'm not mistaken, he was dealing with also the Clinton family. He helped them open the Clinton Foundation. And when you dig deeper into the Clinton Foundation, you realize just how they were involved in, I guess, child trafficking. They were involved in situation in Haiti with the earthquake. And also, he was also dealing with people like Donald Trump, a lot of powerful congressmen and congresswomen in Capitol Hill. And there's so many things, and even like business owners and things like that. So I see why Epstein had to basically get eliminated, because he had leverage and he was blackmailing a lot of powerful people in the U.S. society.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems to conflict with BB's narrative a little bit. Yeah, just a tiny bit. I do want to say this. It's important because I am angry. I will obviously, I pray to move on from this phase, but it's a fire in my belly right now. To those of you who think that you are going to replace Charlie Kirk, okay? Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're going to follow this individual, okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. You put a shill in Charlie Kirk's chair, in Charlie Kirk's company, and you try to tell us to follow that individual, I will be an enemy of you. There will be nothing that can stop me. Okay. And I want you guys to understand, this is not a threat. This is a promise. There will be nothing that can stop me. I will release every single text message. So to those of you who are trying that, I'm seeing the messages. I am telling you to back off right now. Like right now, don't do it. Okay. Don't you think about it. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you were that were exerting pressure. Don't you pretend to be noble now and say nice things about Charlie Kirk and think you're going to slide into his chair. Okay? Over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged. Now,
she's standing on business. And if I were to guess who she's talking about, I would guess it's Ben Shapiro. Because I think Ben Shapiro also made a statement talking about he will pick up the bloody microphone that Charlie Kirk basically was holding, and he will basically carry the torch, and he will basically replace Charlie Kirk. So I'm guessing it's probably Ben Shapiro. But when you look at who Ben Shapiro is associated with, he's associated with a lot of powerful Jewish oligarchs who support what's happening in Israel. So I'm not really surprised, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't know who's Candace is really talking about, but if I were to guess, I think she's talking about Ben Shapiro. Keep in mind that she also worked with Ben Shapiro in the Daily Wire in the past, and they now have like beef among each other. So this is very interesting.
I'm going to take a pause. We're going to go to some sponsors, and then we're going to get into what we are being told by the agencies. There are definitely some holes. Maybe more is coming out. First, this is fantastic that Preborn is doing this. Every heartbeat tells a story. And at Preborn, they give moms in crisis the chance to hear that heartbeat for free. And that's exactly why I partner with Preborn, because Preborn isn't out to judge women. They're making only probiotic that's clinically proven to arrive 100.
I mean, I watched it. I was hoping that they had caught.
Code Candace. Okay. Let's get into what we know about the Charlie Kirk assassination thus far in terms of what the authorities are telling us. First, I just want to toss it to Michael Savage, because the energy of this, what Michael Savage had to say about everything that we're hearing, is pretty much all of us right now. Take a listen.
The so-called FBI, something's wrong. I know I shouldn't do this. I'm risking an awful lot to go up against this FBI, the MAGA FBI. Something's very wrong with what I just heard. I mean, I watched it. I was hoping that they had caught the bastard who shot Charlie. So we saw a video of a person jumping off the roof. It looked very legitimate to me. However, there was no rifle in his hand. Now, the Mauser does not break down very easily, incidentally, for those of you who know weapons. Something's wrong with the whole thing. They're trying to claim he removed the barrel from the Mauser and fit the receiver and stock in his backpack and barrel in his pants leg all in 2 seconds. It is not easy to remove a Mauser barrel or index it after reinstalling and remain accurate. We are not hearing or seeing reality. And by the way, the photo of the rifle allegedly left in the woods has the barrel installed. So we're supposed to believe a guy is on the run after killing Charlie Kirk, and he pauses in the woods to reinstall a barrel, and then he leaves it for us to find, the FBI to find. I don't believe a word of it. I shouldn't do this. I know I'm putting myself at risk, but I can't take it anymore. I can't take the bullshit from this fucking government. It's lying to us. Something's wrong. Something's so wrong. It's sickening.
Sickening is definitely the right adjective, I think, to describe how a lot of us are feeling. And all I know how to do is to gather information, to research, and to investigate. And nothing is making sense. Now, it could not be making sense because we've not arrived at the conclusion. The FBI, I will say, has recently come out and said they're looking for another person. Good, because what we have so far obviously cannot be it. I feel, I was insisting that everybody read that book, Chaos, about the Charles Manson murders. And what we learn from that book is that if the government does want to hide something, what they do is they give you so much information that you can't, you don't even know what's real. So many different possible ways that things could have gone down, so many different manners, so many people speaking, so many publications publishing. And it's just meant to be chaotic, to drive you crazy and to just go, okay, I'm just going to accept whenever the authority says something and not prod any further. We can't allow that to happen here. I won't allow that to happen here because this something terrible has traumatized the world, okay?
There's a lot of inconsistency, especially with this investigation about Charlie Kirk, because like that man, Michael Savage, shout out to Michael Savage. He said, those type of rifle, it's not easy to basically try to dismantle in less than 2 or 3 seconds. And when you watch the video of the guy, Tyler Robinson, running on top of the roof, he didn't have the gun with him. And there's a text message that was on his phone that said he put the gun basically in the forest, and that gun was basically dismantled in the forest. I don't know who's telling the truth, but this is why a lot of experts, especially people who are involved with weapons and guns or even investigation, are saying this could be an inside job or somebody that was a professional that actually did this, and Tyler Robinson is just the scapegoat when it comes to this situation. And I won't be surprised if, you know, he think he's a shooter or he is a shooter, but I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but we live in a time where, you know, information is very valuable, and we're bombarded with a lot of information. Like how Candace Owens said, the government will basically throw a lot of information to people, and then you can't really decipher what kind of information you want to listen to. Same thing with social media. You'll see people basically spending hours and hours on social media not knowing what they want. And because back then information was very, very valuable, because it was kind of rare and kind of hard to really get the right information, and you have to go to the source. Either if you're doing like a research paper, you have to go to the library to pick out a book inside the library to actually read the book. Nowadays, technology has made that a little bit easier for us to gain information, even online. On YouTube, you can learn how to do coding. You can learn how to do so many things, how to fix your car just off YouTube. So back then, it wasn't as easy. So information is very important at this point. But now the government seems like they will utilize these type of tools where they will throw a lot of information at the citizen, where most of the citizen can't really decipher which information is good or bad for them.
And I feel as though when it comes to this, the media, the government, the talking heads, everyone is confusing us about what actually took place with Charlie Kirk, this event, how it got set up. I even would like to know who picked the venue. Okay. Here is what we know thus far, and I will tell you who the exact source is and what video they presented. So the first bit of proof regarding that day happened at 8:07 a.m. According to TMZ, they have footage, and we're going to show you it, which shows a man at 8:07 a.m., so hours before the shooting.
Man, she came ready. She got a chronological time of how the shooter was moving. This is very interesting.
Wearing a maroon t-shirt and light shorts, as you were seeing on your screen right now, hands in his pockets, that is just walking outside of university grounds, okay? Now, Governor Cox tells us that at 8:29, which is an interesting timeline, Governor Cox tells us that that is when the shooter, Tyler Robinson, arrived at UVU campus in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, and a black hat with a white logo. So essentially, he's saying that what that person we saw walking down the street right there arrived on campus at 8:29. I'm going to allow you to hear Governor Cox say that himself. Take a listen.
Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes.
So what's interesting, already confusing to me, is that TMZ shows him already walking. We're supposed to believe he walked, parked his car, and then walked onto campus. They're saying that after that video that you just saw of him walking, he got into his car and then drove to campus. And then at 8:29 p.m. on campus is when he arrives. Already confusing, but let's just keep going. We don't need to poke holes. Let's just keep going with the narrative. Then we're back to TMZ, and they release that at 11:49 a.m., they have footage of the shooter, who has now changed his outfit. We're supposed to gather that, again, on a doorbell cam, and he's in a different outfit. So this is 11:49 a.m. Charlie Kirk has not yet been shot. Take a look at this. Okay. And for those of you that are listening to this on audio, you are going to see someone who appears to be limping. Okay. So maybe he changed his outfit at some point and now he's limping. And the idea that we're seeing floated is that he's limping because he's holding the gun in his pants. Okay. That's kind of what's been floated. Okay. That has not particularly come from the feds. I don't believe so, but he's limping now and he's got on a different outfit. Okay. 11:52 a.m. And we were actually going to check this, by the way, but I think that we had the FBI say that was when he.
A lot of things not really adding up. I mean, I'm not an investigator, but just as a common person, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that a lot of things not adding up. Why the FBI is not releasing more videos, I don't know, because you're in a college campus and I'm assuming there's a lot of videos out there of, him coming in, him entering inside those buildings, him just moving around. I'm pretty sure the FBI have a lot of videos out there that can basically track how he was moving way before Charlie Kirk was basically assassinated. But I don't know if the FBI are also in it. I don't know how, I don't know if all these, billionaires or people in Mossad are basically influencing the FBI by throwing money at them to basically keep this in a hush hush. Maybe it's the same thing that they're doing with the Epstein file. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure there should be a lot more videos out there, especially in the time that we live in, where everybody got camera. There's cameras, there's CCTV camera all over places such as college campuses and even in public setting. So I don't know. I really don't know. Just things just is not adding up, especially with this Charlie Kirk death.
Arrived on campus. Maybe that's not accurate. So let me just skip off of that because Skylar, we should actually look to research that. But at 12:23 p.m. is when Charlie Kirk is shot. Okay. And 12:23 p.m. is when in that same minute is when we have footage that shows us that as the crowd ducks and it's blurry, the shooter runs across the rooftop. I'm going to tell you why that's significant. So 12:23, Charlie Kirk is shot, and we are going to have an angle of that and the image of the black person in black rather, that is running across the rooftop. Take a look at this. They're down clearly. And right away, look at that, okay? And we have another, so the footage shows us, there's another actually clip that I was looking for, Skylar, there, that it actually shows him running across the rooftop. You guys may have seen it. The reason why that footage is problematic, as you start to see them ducking and then you see the shooter immediately start moving across the rooftop, is that their narrative is that he disassembled the gun and then started running. So that's a bit confusing to us of how he was able to do that so quickly. An unbelievable amount of hunters, guns, people that reached out to me and said, that just didn't happen. They have exactly as Michael said, that did not happen. There is no way that happened. That cannot be accurate. Then, and this is obviously the craziest part of everything, we have Decoy Boy, right? So it happens and suddenly this guy, George Zinn, gets arrested. He's making noise. He's signaling that he's somehow shot the guy. And at 12:52, it gets announced that the suspect is in custody. So nobody needs to look around anymore because this suspect is in custody. But actually, I guess George Zinn just does that. He just does that, I guess, like just wants people to think he's done something but he hasn't actually done anything. That, again, to me feels like he's a decoy. Like more people are involved in this. And I will say that we don't know, but we know that something's wrong with this. Then at 12:29 p.m., we have TMZ showing us that there's a person running through the backyard. They are saying this appears to be the suspect running. Okay, now we're going to show you that clip. It is very grainy. So they're alleging that that's him. We couldn't confirm that, and the feds have not confirmed that. But it does show you that someone's running across the back. Again, that's at 12:29 p.m. I don't know. We don't know. I'll give you some other facts that you should probably know just in general that has been thus far confirmed. The weapon, they say, was found in the woods and it was wrapped by a dark towel. Okay, now, when they gave us a photo of that weapon, it was fully assembled. So this is kind of what Michael Savage is saying. He's saying, okay, so then they reassembled it, or maybe the feds did. Maybe they're going to clarify that they reassembled it for a photograph, but we are told that it was found wrapped in a dark towel. Then we have been told that a screwdriver was found on the roof. So they're sticking to this implication that he perhaps undid this gun while he was on the rooftop, and he, wanted to make sure he unscrewed it with the screwdriver, left the screwdriver behind, but took the gun, but then left the gun in the woods.
Do you need a loan for your business? Well, if you've been around for over a year, I'm about to show you how to get up to $3 million in.
Okay. Then we get, and this has not been contextualized, and I can't wait until it is contextualized, we get photos that are the shooter. This is when the FBI came out and said he's in a stairwell. We don't know exactly where that stairwell is. He's in outfit number 2. So the outfit change has happened. Okay. There's no timeline again, but we can discern that there is no weapon that is in his pant leg, because we can see him bending one leg in one photo and we can see him bending the other leg in another photo. So we're unclear about this. What is clear is that there is a ton of cameras on this campus. There is a lot of footage that they could release to make the public feel better about this. I mean, tons of different angles. I don't know why we're getting grainy shots.
I wonder if this Charlie Kirk investigation would be like the one in JFK, where I guess the guy Osborne was the alleged shooter, and then he just got shot, arrested, and shot on live TV, and then they just basically bury his case. I wonder if this is going to be similar to that, but I can't really compare the two men because one was a president and the other one is a political analyst. But it seems like, there's a lot of inconsistency when it comes to the investigation, when it comes to the with the evidence, because if they found a screwdriver on the roof and he dismantled a gun, but it was found in the forest, not dismantled, it kind of begs the question, like, wait a minute, what is really going on here? Like, things really does not add up. So I don't know, man. This investigation is just looking much weirder and weirder and weird.
Not at all. There have been tons of people online going through the tech stack of UVU campus and saying, like, hey, why are we getting grainy? Why don't you give us clearer images? In fact, you guys could show us an image here. They're not doing that. They're just going with this like grainy image and saying that's it. And you can get this grainy image, but we can't tell you much more. Now, again, it's an open investigation. They're under a lot of pressure. There is no question. I'm certainly not going to let this go. And I want the public to not let this go, because you were spiritually impacted by watching a man be publicly executed. And you need to keep that energy and understand that something is very wrong here. Nothing.
Okay, I'm going to end this. So this would have been going on with the Charlie Kirk situation. As you can see, a lot of things been going on with his investigation where there's a lot of inconsistency. And what I got from it is, not all money is good money, because be careful who you are associating with, especially if someone is presenting you money, because they will try to gain control over whatever you do. And this is the case with Charlie Kirk. Like Candace Owens say, he was affiliating with a lot of people, a lot of powerful individuals who were trying to push their agenda through him. And he was offered a lot of money, maybe life-changing money. He already had a lot of money because he was already helping people like Donald Trump to win the election. He was helping a lot of politicians pushing their agenda, but I'm pretty sure he was offered a lot of money, and he probably refused it because he probably felt like, you know, he owned his loyalty to the United States, and he doesn't owe his loyalty to Israel, which we're seeing a lot of people like Ben Shapiro, who seems like he owned his loyalty to Israel, but he also criticized United States, but you barely hear him criticize Israel. But he lived here in the United States. So as an American, you're sitting back and you're wondering, like, hold on. So we have an American citizen like Ben Shapiro who does not criticize what Israel is doing in Gaza or even in the Middle East, but he'll be the first to criticize the U.S. and he lived here in the U.S. So this is where I'm saying, like, most of these political analysts and even politicians, they are compromised in some level because, you know, they own their loyalty to a foreign country. And we see that also throughout our foreign policy here in the United States, where the United States spending a lot of money going overseas, spending that money to oversee in places like Ukraine and Israel and certain other places in the world. But when you look at what's happening in the United States, a lot of people don't have a job. A lot of U.S. infrastructure is crumbling. There's a lot of homelessness. And most of those money can actually be used to help out here in the United States. There's nothing wrong with helping people outside of the United States. There's nothing wrong with that, but you first got to look from within. You got to fix what's going on inside of the United States before thinking about helping people from outside the United States. And because the money that's being spent is taxpayers' money. It's my money. It's your money. It's any American money that actually work here in the United States. And it seems like most of our politicians are irresponsible with the money that and the tax that most of American citizens actually are paying. So I wanted to come and talk about Charlie Kirk. I guess when it comes to George Floyd's situation, Charlie Kirk did call him like a drug addict, but he never really went out and used that as a badge of honor where he's basically smearing his name. He was only bringing it up when actually people brought it up in a debate or in a conversation. So he was never actually just going around like how people are going around just talking about him randomly, but he was using that as an example. I'm not justifying that. As a black person, I'm definitely not justifying what he said about George Floyd, but you know, you can't compare the two, in my opinion. But so far, I appreciate everybody that actually was watching this stream. I'll be streaming again tomorrow. I'll give out a notification out there so people can be ready for it. And appreciate you guys. If you're new to my channel, please make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. Till next time.